connected. All right, very good. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's mess up. Let's mess everything up. Well, where's this? We're trying to play. Yeah, chill Metroid. There we go. Little bits of stuff. Yeah. Okay. We can do okay. We can do okay. All right. This time we're recording music, and it's interesting. The previous stream, you know, I changed a bunch of stuff. I wanted to see what happens. Okay, we'll split the audio channel so I don't record the music. And then I watched a playback of it, and I was like, music kind of adds a lot to my streams, and it's totally fine. It is true that the I don't know if I can carry a musicless stream. I think that's bad. I think that's me not doing good. Okay, so we're oh, it's like the hardest Tuesday ever. Fighting ourselves. We can see here progress we've made on some Metroid fan art, right? Some inking, some flopping. We flip it back and forth, check our work. This does look good. Is that better than that? I think this is the, yeah, this is it. I gotta push my desk up against the wall. Get it all nice smushed up with these, I basically have kneaded erasers absorbing the shockwaves. I'm a boisterous vigorous drawer. I'm a drawer, some would say. Okay, let's open this. And all we may do on this stream is just fill this in. We may just do that. That's plenty. This is a hard week. Things are happening that are strange. No one can prepare. I had to rearrange a bunch of things. Now they're all messed up. try to put them back together. They kind of work, kind of are broken. Okay, when I do fills, I like to start inverted. It's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's smart, if nothing else, to just sort of, you know, double check. Like maybe your lines aren't as transparent as you thought. Like if you had done a little bit of a boo-boo, which happens to me, where you'll I don't know. Sometimes when you erase, you forget to toggle off certain locked pixels, and you can end up adding white. And then when you start doing fills, that white won't necessarily let itself be known until later. It would have popped up here, though, if I had done that. So that's the good news, is nothing like that needs to be worried about. All right. I'm just gonna be super chill. This is like, this is a participation trophy stream. You get credit just for showing up. We're just trying to make sure the frames don't drop. That's it. It's interesting. There is some lag happening, but it's not that bad. It won't stop me from working. I'm just not sure what's causing it. Could be anything. So we ignore. Just keep going. Andy, what's up, man? Andy, thanks for being a guinea pig on a very early run of the dual stream. I guess Twitch doesn't like it when you dual stream, but I like to live dangerously. Oh, that's cool. Kind of it's been a slow couple weeks for me. I'm pulling myself out of the doom spiral, trying to stream. I've been posting on like TikTok even. Can you imagine? But it's happening. It's happening. It's just hard for me to. I guess it's helpful that the it's helpful. Oh, I can't. I need to put that chat on top of everything else. Hold on, hold on. There we go. I guess you can kind of still see me. I was streaming to Twitch, YouTube, Insta at one point on the multi. Okay. How come I didn't know that? I did not know this. Pretty sure I follow you on Twitch, but it's interesting tech. You know, I'm still sort of like feeling it out. It's interesting because it's like I have a I have an affinity for Twitch for being sort of like where I kind of started a lot of this stuff. It's like really just in the beginning it was just me and the Twitch, but it was you know, with my brother's blessing and stuff, I did get support. But I must reflect that like Twitch is like the slowest growing platform I'm on right now. It's like I'm like pretty much everything is doing better than Twitch in terms of like actual engagement or whatever, people being and yet it's like the direct interactions that I get are still mostly via Twitch. So it's like, okay, it's slow, but it's real. So I'm not gonna not do it, but also it's sort of like I think if anything I'm losing followers on Twitch. It's like a really pathetic situation, but I'm just trying. I said never really had much luck on views, got tired of the stress trying to run on the setup and deal with the drawing lag. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of lag actually on this. I don't know if I can attribute it strictly to the multi-stream, but this is technically a different setup. I'll forgive you for not being caught up on the drama if you're not caught up, but essentially my father-in-law said he was like, I'm gonna come live with you guys, and we're like, okay. So we kicked me out of my office and then set it up to be a guest bedroom. And then he got on the horn and he's like, I changed my mind. I'm gonna stay with my brother and sister. And it's like, okay. So now I'm back in my office, but I had made so many like, it's essentially I shed that skin, you know? So it was like, okay, now and you can't just go back into the skin, you know? You gotta be like, okay, let's make new skin. But that's not easy either, you know? I guess that's it. There's like, is there something about growth that equals pain? And the answer is probably yes, but it's interesting. I'm watching my kids grow up too, and it's like when he went to go sleep out, like my son and daughter both went to go sleep over at a friend's house, people we absolutely completely trust. So it's like no chance of anything actually traumatizing happened, but they came back the next day and like my son appeared an entire year older somehow. And it's probably just because he basically ate snacks and partied all night and didn't didn't get enough sleep. And I was like, man, you know, he went over there looking like Jonathan Taylor Thomas and came back looking like Edward Furlong. It was just like, dude, you you grew up a little fast for me right there. All right. Maybe this will go better. And like, it could have just been me, but it's also the fact that my kids keep stealing my office chair to like play with, because it like goes up and down and they can spin around in it. But they like, it's broken. It's straight up broken now, and it won't go up and down. And like, my setup for this desk is supposed to go up and down, but now my chair is just set at one height. So the whole thing is fucked now. It's like, okay, having a having a desk that goes up and down doesn't mean anything if your chair doesn't go up and down. And my wife comes in and my desk is all low. She's like, I like it better like this. I'm like, of course you fucking do, you know? It's like, it's bad for my back and good for your eyes, I guess. And, you know, all the things. And I'm not going to be able to, like, undo any of these things. It's like, they're going to have to be permanent. I'm going to have to be okay with having the low desk. And I am okay with it. It's like most desks are low. But, like, it was nice to have a thing where if I wanted to, I could stand up and work. And it's like, you take it for granted, but when your desk is at that perfect height, or your chair is at that perfect height, and everything else is at that perfect height, and everything just flows, it's great. I had to rebuild everything, and now I'm like, it just feels like this is off by 1 millimeter, and that's off by 2 centimeters, and it's like, I don't remember how to get back to it, you know? So I'm going insane, and it's all my doing. It's not the world's biggest issue, of course. It's just sort of like, triggers me. It's one of those things that it's like work. It's a problem I need to solve that's work, but I don't get paid for it. So I keep procrastinating it, and then I just actually have to deal with it. But it's okay. Like, it's the same thing that it would have been when I set up my desk in the first place years ago. It just takes time to find that sweet spot. And I found it then I fucked it up. And I didn't even have to, but I did. And now I'm back to resetting. I have to try this again. That's okay. I'll be okay. Anyway, TikTok is it's a bit of a thing. Are you on TikTok, Andy? Hey, Danny. You have the sit-stand desk, but only a low chair. I'll stand and I'll work a lot. So, maybe you do or don't. I'll be honest, I didn't spend a lot on my sit-stand desk, so it's only got, like, basically 2 columns. Shit. It's only got 2 columns that go up and down. And, the wobble on the desk is significant. So as opposed to like a 4-poster desk or whatever, where you'd have like more stability, this is sort of, it's not really very stable when it's tall. And that bugs me. What I do to get around it is I use kneaded eraser, you know, that sticky stuff. Yeah, you can't see my face very well. I mean, I can move the chat around this way. Let me do that. Or move me. You can see me. I'm here. Put me here. I mean, I guess that doesn't matter. I was trying to like consolidate screen real estate. I guess it doesn't matter, right? This is sort of interesting. Okay, you're not posting much on TikTok. I know Danny is, but anyway, if you're on TikTok, I'll look you up. I'll follow you anyway. I'll be like, this artist sucks. Let's cancel him. It's tricky. I don't know if I'm just new to TikTok, because I'm, like, new as of 3 days ago. But, like, I'm like, are these kids so young they don't know what Zelda is? They don't seem to quite get it. It's okay. Okay. Fill in this. And this is one of those pieces I'm going to take my time with a little bit with the coloring. I'm not just going to sort of rush it out like I have been with a lot of these different portrait sketches or whatever. Sometimes I get lucky with those portraits. I rush them out and I don't hate them. But invariably, I see shit that I want to fix after it's posted. I'm like, God damn it. If I had just waited 3 days, I could have fixed that. And I've been like, cool, it's perfect forever. But when it's too late, it's too late. I guess it's never too late. You can just always sort of like delete and repost. It's cringe though. Yeah, the setup is new. What's this say? Even live on YouTube. That's cool. Yeah, it's like I think the tech is cool. And right now like there's this ever slightest tinge of lag on the drawing setup, but it's really minimal. So one thing that is improved from the previous streams is that I'm actually streaming via my MacBook now. And so previously I was using my Mac Studio, whatever, Apple Studio, Mac Studio. It's like the Apple Studio, Mac Studio Pro or something like that. It's like a headless CPU or whatever that Apple makes, like the Mac Mini, I guess. And it was working fine, but it wasn't like top of the line, and I did sort of reach a ceiling with it performance-wise. Since then, I got also a new laptop because I needed one, and sort of defeating the purpose, but I'm using it as a desktop in this arrangement with a new monitor. And that's why some of this stuff is so messed up, because like my camera had to get repurposed for something else or whatever. Now I'm on this junky other camera, and this camera sucks, but it's like I'm like, I don't hate the whatever's happening here. It doesn't suck that bad. You know, it's not smoothing out my wrinkles well enough, but it is, you know, at least I look like who I am. Good enough for now. I did some audio troubleshooting earlier, so now I feel like okay, I'm like recording my voice decently and stuff. And clear signal and all that. I'm not using the green screen. For whatever reason, this camera taps into the native filtering in the Apple ecosystem with the cameras. So what it can do is it can it can basically erase out stuff that is doesn't update. It reads that as background. So like behind me, there's like the cats are still there. Or whatever, you know. But it erases it out. It's like a native app at this point. Which for me is a little weird because this isn't a native Apple camera. So some of them work that way and some of them don't. Like my camera that I was using before didn't do it for whatever reason. Probably because it was too good. Anyway, so this is going to be a fun contrast getting into more like a sci-fi aesthetic, which I'm going to be excited to learn more about. Rendering metal, like shiny metal and like slimy goo and that sort of stuff. So that'll be cool. But I do appreciate you guys popping in to keep me company for a little bit. I'm going to go until whatever, like 1:50 p.m. Pacific time. So like another hour. Be a decent sized stream. It's been actually a long time since I did real coloring the way I was doing on those Zelda projects. The cinematic ones, at least, had like a real process to it. I got distracted with all that gradient map stuff from the portraits, and that's an especially effective hacky tool, but I kind of want to set a better example than just using hacks and filters. And this one is sort of resonating with me for whatever reason. What I might do in a minute is see if I can find some different music. This isn't bad music, but it also... I wouldn't necessarily call this like lo-fi Metroid stuff, which is what I was hoping to be able to find when I Googled this. A lot of people say they just tune in for the vibes, and I don't know if this is the vibe. Yeah, let's check this out. Maybe this. kind of more what I was expecting. You know, sometimes you just Google stuff and you just are so excited to get a result, you just jump on it, but further Googling could result in better results. And this piece will be... I'm gonna try and channel a little bit of the Mobius aesthetic. It's definitely not something that familiar with in execution, but I've done a lot of off-screen Mobius studies. Not color ones, but you gotta start sometime, and I think it's a good call. I love his sci-fi stuff. I love all of his stuff, but there's lots to learn. Lots to learn. Sort of happy to be in a little bit of a window where we can do this. But also knowing that, okay, tomorrow I got booked on a job. Gigs are rare these days, but I did get something. Nothing glamorous, but take what I can get. I meant to update my website recently. And I don't know. So a long time ago, I you know how it is. Like, you get into an aesthetic, not an aesthetic, an ecosystem. Essentially, maybe 12 years ago, updated my website into the WordPress ecosystem. And now I'm in that, and and then I got bored with it. Because it's basically, like, you're just basically blogging is your website. It's fine. But right now, I feel like I basically instead of learning how to like run a real website, I've been running like a fake-ish looking website. And now I'm like, okay, can I? And like the recent WordPress is like come and gone in relevance now, so it's like running whoever's running WordPress now is just trying to squeeze out like whatever relevance it'll ever have, like in the short term, because it's just absolutely going to shit. As if the world didn't only sort of ping pong between like 3 or 4 websites these days. And I'm trying to make my website look like it's something interesting, and I can't do that with WordPress, I don't think, without, I don't know. So anyway, there's a pain, a nagging doubt that I have to start all over with my fucking website, which is not something I want to do, because I don't want to be busy doing that for days and days. But I don't see any other way around it. Okay, so now having filled all this stuff in, and of course I have to do it the hard way where I'm like actually like etching it in. Now we go back to the top and we double check our work by making it dark. So lock off the pixels, fill it in with a darker gray. And so what this will do is where we see gaps, they'll sort of light up like Christmas trees. So, okay, not a lot of gaps, but we do see this, right? So where I neglected to be thorough, it's actually pretty easy to spot. And I guess there's a legit argument to be made that, like, yeah, just use the fill tools or use lassos or whatever, but something about the handmade process. I like to feel that that even the mundane stuff in my art is contaminated by the stink of my hand. I am constantly talking about the virtues of doing it the hard way. So, yeah, so far I dig the music. Completely okay to enjoy the process. Yeah, it's like the mundane stuff is sometimes a meditative sort of Zen experience, right? Why wouldn't you want to enjoy that? You know, take your time. It's like raking sand, right? What they do in those Buddhism gardens or something, right? It's all a matter of perspective. Like, if someone said to me, it's like, Max, I want you to go on this retreat. Yeah? And all you do on this retreat is you chop wood and, like, carry buckets of water from a well that's, like, 2 miles away to, like, to your camp. And then you start fire, you know, or whatever, and build shelter. I'd be like, I will pay you to let me go on this retreat. It's like, I will pay you to let me do that mindless sort of nonsensical labor. That sounds like a utter vacation in my brain. Yeah, this is definitely more the vibe, music-wise. Glad I was able to stream today. It does seem to affect my mood if I miss too many streaming days. It's often just beyond my control. Like 3 days ago, my whole office was taken down. There's not much I can do about that. But then now we're back. But even so, it's not necessarily easy to just sort of like go live. Constantly working out little stupid bugs. I'm excited about the potential of the audio, sort of. From what I could tell about the my test stream prior to this, it seems actually well set up right now. So we'll see. That's usually what gives me the most anxiety, anyway. You can see that here, it's just there's little slivers of incompleteness, and I'm just doing my due diligence to make sure all that's tapped in, because what I don't want to be doing is making drawing decisions at the same time that I'm making color and light decisions. I like to make a big hard jump from, in this phase of the drawing, or the piece, I'm thinking about drawing, and then I'm done with that, and then I'm thinking about how it is lit. How it is lit, and all that. And you can never really move completely beyond it, but I don't want to be distracted by, oh, I coulda, shoulda, woulda drawn that better. Let me try and fix it while I'm in the coloring phase. That is something that I think would annoy me. And like, I'm the type of personality that if I got stuck on a drawing and I couldn't figure it out, I would just give up my career. I'd be like, well, I'm a worthless artist. Because I can't figure out this one thing. So process is important. If I feel like I know what can get me out, or can make a good piece, I'm gonna try and work that out. It's not like necessarily a depression thing. I mean, it might be, but also it's like, if you lose momentum with stuff, like if I somehow went at this point, if I went like 2 weeks without streaming, for instance, that might then result in me never streaming again, because I'd just absolutely lose the momentum with it, you know? Good or bad, I probably... I don't know if I would make the case that streaming often is resulting in better streams. I'm not sure if that's the case either, but coming back to like video games and stuff, there were games where it's like I took a break from a video game, like, oh, I got stuck on a part, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do something else for a little bit. I'll come back to that video game later, and never came back to it, never ever, and that's how life is sometimes. Or like a book. You're like, oh, I'll just put the book down. You know, do something else for a little bit. Life can be so distracting. Even if you mean to come back to it, like your whole body will like, oh, I want to get back to that book. But then life just gets in the way. Like, fuck it, you get a new hobby somehow, especially when you're young. Like you meet a new friend, you meet a new girl, or you know it, like you're like, who did I used to be? I don't remember, you know? When I work on projects, especially if they're like side projects, it's one thing if it's your work, right? Like you have accountability enforcers like your boss or your producer or your mother or your dad like telling you to do stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. But like if you've got, you know, a side project and it's just you making you do it, momentum counts for so much. And if you lose that momentum, it's like, good luck, man. You might never come back to it. I forget stuff quickly too. I'll be like, I don't even remember the password to that website. You know, it's impossible. I can't hack it. Anyway. So just to speak a little bit about Metroid, this was a game that I did not have. I didn't have Metroid growing up. But I had like a Nintendo Power subscription, which meant I got all the Metroid. I can't underscore the impact that had on my culture. So like this thing was like the Super Metroid Nintendo Player's Guide, for instance. If you had a Nintendo Power subscription, they would just send this stuff to you. And it was, you know, and it's like, these were standalone issues that were like dedicated to like, this is how you beat this one game. And these were thick, like books, you know? And big like magazines, and there were and it was just like the whole video game in a book, basically. Except you didn't have to play it. You could just read about it and like learn all the tips. And like for a kid like me, like that was as good as playing the video game. It was in my head, you know. So I remember a lot of the relevance and the aesthetic of Metroid far more than my like individual playtime, which is probably less than 15 minutes. I don't think other than like getting like the missiles whatever in the first game. It's like whatever you can do 5 minutes into the first game. I mean the first game. Like I don't have any experience with it, but I definitely still have an affinity for the relevance. That's culturally relevant to my people. My people being nerds, so that's it. All right, so and like I also want to like I don't think of it necessarily as like this is somewhat of an aesthetic that I love is this I guess you would call it, well, certainly this palette, like I love, and I want to sort of like see if I can honor that in this piece. To a lesser extent, the overly airbrushed, sort of poorly stenciled, not all of this is bad. Some of it is bad. But I'll attribute it to bad reference material and bad deadlines. The Metroid artists were goated, for sure. But, you know, the vibe of this is undeniable. You know, that's my jam. It's like candy for my child brain. So now we need good references for the color. And I'm not necessarily thinking of it. So I guess like the story of this picture that I'm working on is from the it is essentially Super Metroid. For those who know and those who don't, so Metroid 2 was a Game Boy game where essentially at the end you get the Metroid. The Metroid is like you're like a bounty hunter meant to retrieve this stolen life form. And at the end you get it, and it's like the baby Metroid. So in the end of Metroid 2, you like get the baby Metroid, which is what this is. And then Metroid 3, Super Metroid, sorry, is a that's where you the Metroid sort of redeems itself, coming back to save you at the end of the story. So here, this is kind of the, and it's not everybody's thing. Like, maybe this is your thing, maybe it isn't, but this is my jam. So I'm going to pull it up. This sort of, like, it's metal, but it sort of, like, looks like a jelly bean kind of rendering. Where it's almost akin to that kind of spray paint art that you see when you go to whatever popular metropolitan centers, and the guy is like doing spray paint art with like stencils, and it's like it's a waterfall with like a moon in the distance or something like that. You wouldn't call it low effort at the time, but the time and place for this is definitely set. But I believe that there's something here that I want to recapture. Yeah, that's awesome. This like the reflection of the alien landscape in the visor hood or whatever. I'll refrain from giving a true critique of this because I should not cast stones. But so this is from Metroid 2. This is like the Game Boy cover basically, and that's the era. There's true retro Metroid. So, and I'd love to not think about color. So I'm just going to, because this looks like a decent reference, I'm just going to take a screenshot, pull that into here, and that's the palette. We've got red, orange, yellow, and like metallic black, I guess. And those are the colors. Let's do it. And then, wait, here. There's also this, and this is the color that I want for the, see this like purplish stone? That's how I want the color of the background, basically. I'll have here. Oh, that's very intense. Okay. I think it makes sense to have a fully filled in with color figure. Otherwise, I'll just leave little pieces of gray, and we don't want that. But yeah, let's figure out where we can... That's very red. Let's find out where we can... I like the red helmet. I like red torso. Let's see where we can go with, I think, more orangey appendages. Orangey yellow appendages is the right call. We'll see how far we get. We got about, whatever, a little over 30 minutes. Play around. What might not be obvious about this composition yet is the Metroid itself is going to have a glow. So we're going to have a lot of contrast in textures. That will ultimately yield to similarities, or there will have a lot of really tasteful relativities in like color, the color and light exchange. So contrast in shape and texture and unity in color and light. Or the, sorry, rather the effect of light. The influence of the light. to be able to make your own decisions about how an iconic video game character is depicted. Eventually I'll get around to doing Mario and Princess Peach and stuff like that. Right now I'm just exploring. Like, I don't know. I guess I have an assumption that given what I can see on this reference, the artist had the idea that more towards the outward-facing parts of the suit, those would be redder, and whereas the abdomen apparently is very yellow. Which might be a good reason for that. You know, we don't have to throw away everything that they did. I think that they probably tried color combinations themselves and sort of had their own reasoning. This worked well versus the other stuff that we tried and it didn't work. I've been dealing with that a lot on projects lately. Unfortunately, is I'll be on a project, and if it's cool, then I'll like it, and I'll actually really give a shit, and I'll think about it, and I'll be like, man, you know. And I can work, when I do my job, like thinking of how the story unfolds, I don't have to be drawing to see how it goes. I can do a lot of the hard work in my head, actually. It's just sort of like playing a simulation, essentially, in my head. And I can see the different multiverses sort of unfold. And the pros and cons of making one decision versus another in the storytelling. Where it's like, okay, if we do it this, we'll give extra weight to this moment. And that'll have the emphasis on this. But it'll come at a cost of time. And that means there's less time for this or whatever. And being able to see all that, I make decisions, or essentially, you know, I'll sketch out recommendations and be like, okay, I want to sell the director on this. So that's the best way. But then the director sees it and they're like, well, I saw it differently in my head. And they're like, the sort of describe shots that they want. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, well, that's okay. Yep, that'll do that. And that's good. But like, I was like, do you understand that, like, I didn't just like do one run through and this was like the first idea that popped into my head. This is like, I probably thought about this longer and harder than you did, despite it being your project. And you know, if I couldn't sell it to you, I guess that's on me. But you know, okay, it's your project. Let's go through it. You know, now you've told me what you want. So then we start drawing it their way, and then it goes on for 20 times longer than it needs to because they keep realizing that what they wanted wasn't working either. And it's pretty obvious to me that at that point, it was like, okay, I was thinking about this a lot longer and harder than you were. And, you know, now we're in a position where you kind of threw away my good ideas on day one so that you could feel like you were making your case for what you thought was best. And I want you to feel empowered to advocate for what's best. But if this was the best idea that you had, why did you the next day decide to change your mind on it? And then we just slide into what is, I'm just starting to now call it basically vibe directing, where we just sort of muddle our way through projects very haphazardly. It just basically feels like fumbling around in a cave with no light, and we're just sort of feeling for the exit. We have no map. We've got no leadership. It's like the leader is like, oh, I know the way, and they're just fumbling their way through. And it's like, is that's the way, huh? That's the way to figure it out? It's like, okay, cool. Well, and then it's sort of like, that puts me in a position where I'm like, well, I don't like doing business this way, but on the other hand, I get paid for the amount of time I'm in the cave. So, and it's like a mixed incentive kind of situation. Imagine if, like, we paid firefighters not for the amount of time that they, you know, spent waiting around on call for fires, but the amount of time that they spent actually fighting fires. It's like, you know, they might be less in a rush to put out the fires, right? And like save the lives, you know? The quality of the firefighting might, you know, if they were so inclined, the priority of the firefighting itself might fall way to the priority of the duration of the firefighting. Maybe that's, I don't know. That's I don't know if that's the best way to make good firefighters. It's definitely not improving my ability to do storyboards. But that's the situation I'm in right now, where my best efforts are rejected, and what gets through is just whatever is able to sustain itself for the duration of the deadline. What's like, it's like the idea that wins is the last idea standing, I guess. I felt like my efforts and my contributions were better received when we were all on site, and it mattered to have something to show for yourself at the end of the day. And things are different now. And whatever. Alright, let's see what... Is this yellow or is this green? That's... This is a strong green vibe. I don't love the brightness of it. Let's try. Yeah, that's probably closer to what it needs to be. Ooh. Everybody save your work. Way too long without saving there. Color is kind of liked it. It was darker before with the red, but we'll get there because we're not accounting for the lighting yet. And then this is just the local color, I guess. Uh-oh, did I reset? I'm back. Yeah, I didn't mean to go away. I'm not sure what happened. But the internet is sucky today. The whole world sucks, but the internet is shitty. We're working through some scuff. What happened? You restarted? I didn't do anything. I've just been here. It doesn't even say that anything dropped or whatever, so I don't know what happened. This is probably a hiccup with the restreaming. I guess that's what they actually call it. So we'll check it down, like, if it went on both streams. So if there was a hiccup on both streams, like the YouTube and the Twitch, what that's going to do is tell me that this was an issue with the Restream, which is the dual streaming service. How do you go about figuring out your base and local colors? Do you shoot for a light tone, a mid-tone, and a darker tone? So, a lot of what I do these days, thanks for asking, Andy, is I try to be a little agnostic to, like those, like what is dark and what is light. I almost want that to be, so it's a good question. The answer is I'm really just trying to fudge my way through a lot of this stuff. Where there is too much contrast, obviously that isn't good. Where there isn't enough contrast, obviously that isn't good either. where we can get the feeling of contrast, like looking about right. That's obviously just the most important thing always. But like what works in one composition won't necessarily work for another. And we have, therefore, the the fun benefit of not having to give too much of a shit, because it's like, the way I'm, because I'm gonna do 3 Metroid pieces. I have ideas for 3 Metroid pieces, and the way I'm coloring your suit here will be probably completely different, and the next time I color it, and it'll be completely different on the next time I color it. I think it does make sense to have like, so you'll definitely hear, and this is true, that you should like simplify your values, right? They're like, oh, simplify your values. And you definitely want to have like, where's your mid, I don't know, it's like all that stuff just is confusing and weird to me. What is true is that if you do have, like, if you group your blacks, for instance, we've all heard this before. It's like grouping your blacks, and if you, sorry, yes, group your blacks and your whites and your midtones and all those things. They should be, because essentially what that does is it makes a quicker read, and it feels like a more deliberate composition. But what that also does is it stills and arrests your composition. That's a good way to give oomph to important things that need to feel very important, but that will also anchor them, make them heavy, and you know, sometimes that's not what you want. And if you want to have if you want to look like shit's just popping off and going crazy, then you take all those things that they just said and throw them out the window, because what you want in that moment is like confetti and craziness, you know, and ungrouped blacks and things like that. So and obviously, like, this image is just all over the place, but it still looks cool, you know. Anyway, what I try to do is just have like a very simple kind of, like, when I'm picking these colors, right? But it's really just, I want red represented in a sample that is close to the reference image, which is the character I'm trying to honor. And then same thing with the orange and the yellow. But the yellow that I sampled was too bright, and it was like distracting me. It's like it needs to read as yellow, but not like a light source at this point, right? You can't do that. It was just too contrasty. Now if it was supposed to be like a glowing element in the scene, then sure, you know, it can be a bright yellow. But in this case, it was just too much. I do like the idea of a reflective piece of glass, but I also want the transparency to be there. I want there to be a little bit of a connection of the eye line. But we'll just see one eye. We can have a reflection on the other side. And then this is going to go right along with the theme that I'm always sort of putting up, which is having the midpoint of the image cross through someone's pupil. Which, if I hit this button, will sort of be clear. I can make that even more obvious, I think. So. Just something I've been doing is making that happen. So why not keep it up? But to kind of come back to it, I think the truth is I get lost on color very easily, and I don't want to. But I also sort of feel like I can't know if a color is going to work until I see it lit in the scene. And then at that point, it's too late anyway. But if it's lit right, I've yet to find an issue with like this with the Zelda stuff. I'm like, oh, did I pick the right color for that? I don't come back to it thinking, gosh, I got the wrong base color for the boots, or I got the wrong base color for his hood, or for the monster's tongue, or something like that. It's all about light. And I expect it'll be the same idea here. But here's a thing where I feel like looking at what's happening in the composition here, it's almost like there's there's like a line forming here under the Metroid that's coinciding with the red. And that's distracting. And it wouldn't be that way in the final piece, given how I'd light it. But now I just sort of feel like, I could justify coloring it a little bit more red right here. Just so it feels like it's overlapped. That looks good. I don't want stuff sticking out like it's like it's a snag for my eye to get caught up on. I don't want anything objectionable being a pain in the ass. It's not necessary. And so now I'm looking at this, and like, I basically feel like this is the colors for the suit. It could be that I could think of different things. The pattern could be somewhat different, but I feel like this gives me the variety and the uniformity that I'm kind of looking for. Now, I guess what would be smart is if I like go in here and like I fill in some of this stuff with some gray. Like, does that make sense? This is like a Secret of Mana tune. It's kind of cool. What is this? Alright. Love the Secret of Mana. That's interesting. Metroid and chill, lo-fi beats. What's this? Let's try this. Anyway. So we'll see. Maybe the dual streaming is unstable, you know, and we'll phase that out. I'm not sure, but it'll be something that I'll assess afterwards. It might be like, why are we restreaming this guy's content when no one's watching it, or it's not enough people are watching it? Just remembered, my buddy's coming over. You're not using some paid service to do it? No. No, Restream.io or whatever the service is apparently is a... it's free to to do 2 streamings. Or up to 3. But if you do more, you gotta pay. And I couldn't imagine streaming to like TikTok or something doing this. You know, and I don't have the best internet. It might be, the fault might be on my end. I'm not sure. But if it does feel like it's unstable, you can natively multi-stream through OBS. I think that's true. And that's maybe why they don't charge for it. But they also do other stuff, which sort of seems cool to me. It's just, if it's causing lag, then it's just, you know, it may not be worth it. Or if it feels like it's hiccuping too much. You know, because it's like... I think at the end of the day, it's like, obviously, the streaming part is important, but it's also sort of like, that's just sort of the accountability tool. The important part is just sort of like doing the art and being consistent about that. That's the hardest part for me. It's feeling like a piece. It's feeling like a piece of art that's coming together. It might be more stable to do it through OBS. Did it drop off again? You can just tell me if it did, but obviously if like the multi-stream stuff just isn't stable, then I'm just gonna stick with like streaming through Twitch or whatever. It's like classic me being like, the service is messing everything up. And it's like, no, it's just no one's watching. Just wanted to offer options. I remembered. Yeah, I mean, so like my budget to actually like, sorry, not budget, like the time I can allocate to actually doing any of this stuff is really limited. It's just like, all things being advantageous or like, okay, in the best possible scenario I can think of, I've got maybe like 10-15 minutes in a day to like, and then maybe 2 hours to stream, you know. And if it can't happen in that window, then it's sort of like it's never gonna happen. It's like too much other shit is going on. I've got just way too much shit going on. And it's like, it's not even like work stuff. It's just like my wife can't help but be like, oh yeah, we haven't seen so-and-so in forever and they're coming over tomorrow. And I'm like, we literally hosted friends 3 times this week. But it's true. We've got obligations to host even more people, so get ready. Danny's on YouTube. Are you, oh yeah, I can see that next to the, I appreciate you, giving it a shot. You're cranking my numbers up. My numbers are from, going from like, well, I don't monitor it, but I assume it's at like 0 and now at 1, if you're watching at YouTube. So this is, I got 5 minutes to basically finish up and do an outro. But I'll see if I can do that in a minute. Alright, let's fill in this Metroid. And the Metroid itself in this is going to kind of be a light source. I'm going to skew it a little bluish green. Maybe yellowy teeth and claws. it can have purple gums and red floaty balls. Yeah, just the symbol, the difference in the chat, which is interesting. And I guess that's part of the restream thing that it does, because I'm not sure. Andy was just saying that the restream. Sorry, you can do things natively via OBS, and that's true. But where it can all sort of be like gathered via, like, with the chat, sort of like having a unified chat like that. That's the doing of the Restream app, which is something I'd like, and the fact that it's doing it for free, I do appreciate. But there's going to be a downside somewhere where it, like, I don't know, steals my data or something like that. Clones me and... This ugly little alien bug. Is what we love, so that's good. I was doing that on my own, and it was a... Oh, is the YouTube being laggy? Sorry, man. I was doing that on my own. It was a pain in the ass. It's worth using what you're using, just enough to do that manually. Yeah, essentially you had to, like, reload and put up the chat every time, essentially, and yeah, I didn't want to do that. So having it doing this automatically is good. It's good, okay. This is looking okay. All right, well, Danny, I appreciate the feedback on the lag. I can't do anything about that. And so one thing I might do is be like, maybe we'll restream, do the dual stream for like a week, see if... You know, because if it's laggy like 1 time out of 10, it's like, okay, I could live with that. If it's laggy every damn time, it's like, okay, I don't want that. I'd rather just, you know, do it the old-fashioned way. And, you know, so it's going to come down to a bit of trial and error, feel our way through it. You know, what is the best? Because I don't want shitty VODs that, like, get a poor record of, you know, what I'm doing. But it is cool to, you know, if nothing else, it's like, finally I've got, like, a chat overlay. That wasn't that hard. I should have had that up a long time ago. I mean, maybe it matters and maybe it doesn't, but to me, it, like, okay, it's like, that wasn't rocket science. I could have figured that out. Okay, so this is looking cool. So, I'm going to probably mess this up, but let's see if this works. Oh, that, well... That did that. Okay. This is... Okay, that's goofy. I mean, that bad, but... Okay. Well, we'll forego any sort of major outro. Because I can't do this very well. Yeah, that's not working. What a mistake. What a mistake I've made. Can I... Maybe this... No. Just go back to the main. Alright, well... Yeah, it's sort of a short stream, because I gotta pick up my kid. You know, I got kids. I got kids. It's almost 2, so it's time to get them. Alright, Danny, Andy, anybody else who's listening, thanks for popping in. Super appreciate it. You know, it's quite the experience. Dude, put a halo on yourself? Alright, maybe. This was fun. Thanks for tagging along, and we'll continue another time very soon, hopefully. And until next time, adios.